Hello, everybody. It's Vinyl Rich here with Vinyl Fine 75, I believe. I'd like to thank everybody that watched last week's Record Store Day video. Before I get started, I'm drinking something a little different. Sol Cerveza. It's actually pretty good. Yeah. My Record Store Day purchases. I got four Record Store Day releases, and they were all 60s. I had some albums that I had bought before Record Store Day, and I've bought some since. Most of them are all 60s. 3 of them aren't. So I decided I'm just going to show all my 60s ones, and next week I'll show the other. One album is one that Spinning Greek showed. Fantastic album. But anyways, I'm going to show these 60s ones first. All really good albums. One I'm on the fence about. First one here is Yes, their first album, 1969. It's a little uneven. It's not as good as their second album and their third album. But it's really good album. It was a hole in my Yes collection. I have purged a couple of Yes albums recently, some of the later ones. But yeah, I didn't have their first. It's been a couple of weeks since I've listened to this. And I remember most of it. I liked most of it. Anyways, Yes. Everybody knows Yes. This is the sleeve, and I think it's Atlantic. Yeah, they're on Atlantic. Now this next one is an album. I wasn't familiar with the band. I've seen the album around. I've always avoided it just because of the album cover. And it's Clear Light. I was kind of surprised to find out that this actually came out in 1967. As you can see, this is a mono, which plays really good. This is a really good, I would call it a psych album. It isn't all psych. It's a really good rock album. It's not way out there psych. It's pretty mainstream. I think most people that like just mainstream rock would like this album. It's got some songs that actually sound kind of like Love. You got even a little country-ish rock guitar in a couple of the songs. Sand, the second song on side 2, is real fuzzy guitar. But yeah, this is a really good album. The one thing is, I've only listened to it a couple times. It seems like the last song on each side is the weakest song on the sides. It's kind of weird. But good album. It's a band, Clear Light. I don't know if I said that. Pretty, I don't know. The album cover really doesn't do it justice, I don't think. It's on Elektra. Original sleeve and a really nice Elektra label with a hole right through it. I didn't notice the hole on the album cover, but when I looked at the album, it was like, oh shit. But, whatever. This next one is Arthur Brown, The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. Now, I did a video a month or so back, my favorite 60s psych albums. A few other people made videos. One person that did was Psych in the Valley. And he showed this album. And the way he described it, I go, man, I got to check it out. I knew the song Fire. I wasn't a big fan. I thought the song was okay back in the 60s. But I wasn't a great big fan of the song. I bought the album. I'm not sold on it yet, It's a weird album. I'm gonna have to listen to it more. Let's just put it that way. Really cool album cover. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just on the fence about it. I mean, I don't dislike it, but I don't love it either. That's probably the best way to put it. On Atlantic, nice cool original sleeve. You know what the Atlantic label looks like. Now this next one though, man, I was real excited to get this. It's one that I had always avoided because of what I had heard. And it's Captain Beefheart's second album, Strictly Personal. Now I had Mirror Man. I bought that when it came out in the early 70s. Pretty cool gatefold there. Yeah, that's pretty cool, dude. But that album, Mirror Man, it I think it was sessions that were done around the same time as this, and I really didn't care for that. I mean, actually, it's not a bad album until Captain Beefheart starts playing sax. I think it's a soprano sax or harmonica. It's just like ear piercing. It's not good, and I figured this might be similar to that, and I had heard that Captain Beefheart did not like this album. He was not happy with the way they mixed it. They mixed in some psychedelic kind of tinges to it. And so I've always avoided it because Captain Beefheart didn't care for the way the album came out. But I have been buying Captain Beefheart albums, and I must say, this is one of my favorites. This is fantastic. And the fact that the guys did engineer it the way they did, or whatever you call it, it improves it. And man, if they could only do the same thing with those Mirror Man tapes. It is a psych album. If you're into psych and you're not really into Captain Beefheart, this is your starting point, I think. It's Safe as Milk is a little more garagey with some psych. This is a little more bluesy with psych. But man, I was surprised. I was actually blown away at how much I really dig this album. It's on Blue Thumb. Very cool. Now this next one, just like the Clear Light, this was a band and album I was really unfamiliar with. I bought this based on the cover. Just like I used to do with punk albums back in the day, you know. I bought this one, and it looks like my dog, Benji. Benji, you want to go outside or what? You're going to have to wait, I told you. Anyways, I bought this based on the cover, and it does not disappoint. It is a really good psych album. It is keyboard driven, which I tend to like the guitar driven psych albums. That's why I'm not a really big Zombies fan. I mean, Time of the Season, I dig that, but I don't really, I don't know, I have to listen to them more. This is a really good album, though. On first listen, I liked it. I've listened to this thing probably 4 or 5 times, and every time I listen to it, I like it more. This is a really good psych album. If you can find it, pick it up. It's out there probably for not too expensive. I'm not sure where these guys are from. I know it's late 60s. I don't even know what year this came out. I didn't really do any research. But I highly recommend it. And it's on the Verve label. Now, these next ones are all bands that everybody's probably heard of. Yardbirds, Over Under, Sideways Down, US pressing, different songs, and Yardbirds is one of those bands where the US albums have a totally different song listings. Jeff Beck, Yardbirds, really good album. There's another album, US album, where it kind of has a similar cover. I don't remember off the top of my head what it's called. I want to get that one too, and then I'm probably done with the Yardbirds. Unless I find them, you know, for a good price. But yeah, this is it's no surprise what it is. It's got Lost Woman, Jeff's Boogie. Good album. And it is on the Yellow Epic label. And it's actually autographed here by Henry Fitzgerald. I think Henry Fitzgerald was the sixth member of the band, but he was kind of shy. The next one here, I think this is the last 60's album I needed to get by Muddy Waters. It's Fathers and Sons. It's Muddy Waters with Otis Spann, Michael Bloomfield, Paul Butterfield, Donald Duck Dunn, Sam Lay, and Buddy Miles. One album is studio, and the second album is recorded live. I'm not going to take the records out because they come out this way, and it's a pain in the ass. But you can see the labels. Pretty cool custom labels there. It's a really good album. It's not a great album, but it's a really good album. Muddy Waters didn't make a bad album, I don't think, really. But yeah, this is really good. Great lineup. Good listen. This next one, I must admit I have not played yet. It's Otis Redding, Complete and Unbelievable, the Otis Redding Dictionary of Soul. My. I mean, I'm familiar with some of the songs on here, but I haven't had a chance to play this yet. I'm sure it's going to play really well. It's in excellent shape. So far, all these albums, the vinyl is in excellent shape. Soul. Yeah, when I find the Otis Redding, I'm picking it up. And it's on Volt Records, distributed by Atco. Now these next two are great classic albums. Everybody here is familiar with them. They're kind of hard to find in good, excellent shape. The Doors. This one might not be quite as hard to find. Waiting for the Sun. This was always a favorite of mine. Their third album. I'm starting to pick up the Doors catalog. Celebration of the Lizard. Great album cover. It's a uni type of album jacket, which is a pain in the ass. I always liked this album. It was always one of my favorites. Hog's Ear Report left a message in one of my videos. I think it was my psych video, my favorite psych albums video. And he made the statement that the acid Doors were better than the beer drinking Doors. And I tend to agree. I mean, the beer drinking Doors, you had these three albums. Then you had Soft Parade, which was kind of a transitional album. And then you had the beer drinking Doors. Morrison Hotel, LA Woman. But great album. Really good psych album. Most likely would have made my favorite psych albums video if I had it at the time. And on Elektra. Really great find. Now this next one here too is an album that I think is a spectacular album. It's one of my favorites by them. And it's the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request. This album has, as my brother calls it, some home runs on it. I mean, a lot of home runs on it. It's kind of got two wanker songs on it, though. And they both end the sides. If they would have replaced, Sing This All Together, See What Happens, or On the Show with Jumpin' Jack Flash, which was released around the same time, and the B-side of Jumpin' Jack Flash, this album would have been one of their... It possibly could be number one psych album of all time. But because of those two wanker songs, But it would make my top 20. In fact, this album gets slighted a little bit. People tend to compare it to Sgt. Pepper's, and that's really not fair. Sgt. Pepper's really isn't a psych album compared to this. This is a psych album, and it's a great psych album. And if it was some obscure band that made this album and they only had 1,000 copies originally made, this thing would be selling for $10,000 probably. But as is, it's hard to, at least for me, it's hard to find a good copy of this with the lenticular cover, I believe is how they call it. And I finally found one. The cover has a little wear on the corners, but you know, that really doesn't bother me. The album it's on London, and it is actually, if it's not excellent, it's in BG+++ territory. It plays really good. I mean, I just love this album. It starts off with Sing This All Together, a really, fun intro song. Then it goes into the Citadel, which I think is absolutely fantastic. In Another Land, and then 2,000 Man. I mean, those 4 songs are all great. And then it kind of peters out. Side 2, She's a Rainbow, fantastic single. The Lantern, another one. Gomper is another song that's not quite as good as the... I'm not going to even say that. Then 2,000 Light Years from Home, another one that's just fantastic. And then On With the Show, kind of... I don't know. I don't have a problem with that one. But the way that the 2 sides ended, kind of... makes it not a 5-star album. And this is the original inner sleeve. Really cool. I was really jazzed to find that album. Like I said, I've found copies before. The covers are usually crappy. The record's always scratchy. Or they're asking stupid money for an album that sold millions. But yeah, that's another Vinyl Finds video. 60s Vinyl Finds video for me. My next one will be a little more varied. It will probably have some 60s stuff in it, but it's going to have some other stuff too. Take care, guys and gals. Take care.